counterintelligence, misinformation is one of the biggest sectors of a battlefield because you can win a battle without a single person dying with the right information.
Yeah.
What's up, everybody? Today on Universal Theory, we're going to be talking about robots in a militaristic sense. Real quick shout out to everybody who's been down in the comments. The shorts have been doing really well. If you haven't seen our shorts and our comedies, our parody shorts, that's what we do, right? We don't take ourselves serious. We will throw on a lab coat and glasses or put our hair up and dress like a nerd or whatever we have to do because we don't care. We are just trying to be funny. We're all learning, and the best way to learn is through comedy. Comedy's transcendental, yada, yada, yada. You know the drill if you've been here long enough. That's what we do. But if you haven't, you're going to see comedy. We don't take ourselves too serious. But we do, when we look at information, it's left brain, right brain, right? We try to look at things holistically. And because we're doing that and it's new, we add comedy on top to kind of ease. Otherwise, we're just talking facts and things that we've been building on for years. And it's hard to do that in a 10-minute chunk. So we just try to have a good time. So today we're going to be talking about robots. Everybody's favorite topic. I remember being scared of the Terminator as a kid. I remember having my own Skynet freak out, satellites and Bluetooth, and it's going to be controlled by a hive. It's going to be a hive mind and all these different kind of fears. As I got older, the fears kind of subsided, obviously, because we're in control. But now we're kind of hitting a turning point. As we know with ChatGPT, it's much easier now. You could imagine that same model, instead of the input being a human typing something, the input is information from, this building, here's the heat signatures. It's this time of the day when these heat signatures are here. So when these heats, start to memorize patterns, and then I'm going to hit this building with the missile, right? We're not far from that because we're already inputting data. So all it is removing the keyboard and then having its sensors be the data that it's inputting. And now we're getting really close to drones and unmanned vehicles. And, I'm allowed to make this decision on my own if it fits these parameters, right? If it's in an area where we know that there's suspected terrorists, if there's more than 10 people in the building that I can get their facial recognition and they're on a wanted list. Whatever the list is, right? If it fits these parameters, I can go ahead and send a missile at them without needing a go-ahead. We will get there. So, and that's, something from the sky, right? They would never know that was coming. There's also, you could think about the inverse. We're gathering intel where you could have a robot the size of a bee or a fly, and it just flies into your room and sits on the wall. Maybe it has a cloaking device. Maybe it doesn't need to, because if you swat it, well, it's going to, you're not going to tell that it's a robot, especially if they build it somewhat organically, somewhat accurately. They're just going to think it's a dead fly. And the whole time there's a Bluetooth transmitter with a little speaker on there, and we're getting the information back to whoever is spying on us. So there is some fear in both of those realms.
Yeah, it's there's always positives and negatives when it comes to novel tech, especially when it's in the hands of the military.
Yeah.
Because not everybody involved in the military industry has the right agenda.
Right.
And when I say right, it could just mean that they're not being totally objective. They might have ulterior motives, or they might want something that's not necessarily what they're saying publicly to people and say, hey, we want this. But really, it's something else.
Like a hidden agenda.
Yes, a hidden agenda. We might want oil or something like that, or we might want to just dominate this area and push out this ruler. So yeah, technology always has the positives and negatives to it, but at the end of the day, we need the technology to advance humanity and allow for us to, evolve further, so we can do things like dominate other planets in our solar system, or go outside of the solar system, or even just fix our soil or our atmosphere, or maybe you got robots that plant trees and stuff like that.
Or they can sense what's in the soil. They test what's in the soil, and then they add what it's missing, or defense. I mean, there's plenty of things. And here's the thing, everybody. It doesn't matter how you feel about it. It's happening. Because the people that are in power, it's not like they're slow down. They're no, quick, more technology. Because it's still an us versus them mentality. It's a US versus China versus whoever versus Russia versus whoever versus India, whatever, right? It's not we can move at our own pace because we haven't seen aliens, and we'll get into that at some other point in time. But let's just say that was the case, that there has been no alien interaction. So we're just kind of cruising along because there is no them. It's just all us. And why do we need to rush tech? That's not the reality. The reality is we have different continents, and these different continents don't like each other, and they're all vying for power. So we're all racing when it comes to AI. We're all racing when it comes to machine learning, when it comes to robots. We're not playing around. And counterintelligence, misinformation is one of the biggest sectors of a battlefield, because you can win a battle without a single person dying with the right information.
Yeah.
So we just have to learn to cope with, or learn to use the good as a coping mechanism, because the bad is going to come just as the good is.
Yeah.
Because we're consumers, so they're going to sell the good. They're developing it at a rapid pace, regardless of what anybody thinks.
Yeah. So we just had the Marine rapper on our podcast for an episode, and he talked about how not every soldier is the same. Not every captain or sergeant or general is the same. The government may not always treat those people the same either. It's like you have individuals with individual plots and motives and agendas within this complex. So you're going to have people that misuse the tech, and you're going to have people that also use the tech to their advantage and to the advantage of others.
Yeah.
And like he said, there's competition. So it's like, let's say you don't develop the tech. And you're like, I don't want to develop the tech. I want to sit in meditation. I want to practice yoga and peace and plant my garden. And, there's a ancient saying that says it's better to be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. And there's a reason for that. Because if America, for example, just said, we're not going to push the tech, we're just going to stay where we are and kind of, like he said, cruise along. And then somebody else develops this technology where they can just send a gnat in and it just buzzes in and kills your president.
Right.
We have no means of detecting it. And it's like, oh, well, there goes your president. Oh, there goes the other guy that was talking crap about that guy. You know what I mean? Like, and all of a sudden, now you have an invasion, and it's like, oh, people are like, that's not going to happen. It's like, well, why do you think we go to war all the time? Like, it's not always because, we're attacking somebody else and we don't necessarily have a good reason. It's like there are other countries that would love, and they send spies over all the time. It's not like Russia doesn't have spies over here. It's not like China doesn't have spies over here, or we don't have spies over there. It's like we're all competing with each other, and we're all dodging the misinformation. And you have people that specialize in that type of stuff. And the technology is only going to make each culture, each country, and each military more advanced. So if you don't advance yourself, other people are going to continue to become more and more advanced and be able to take advantage of you. And that's just the mindset you have to have. You have to be aware of it. You have to live in reality, because you can't just live in this phantasmagoric illusion where you think that everything is all happy and flowers and rainbows when, people have access to nukes and robots that could invade your country. So it's like you have to protect yourself. It's just being objective.
Yeah, the scary thing to me is we just read an article about the bees, and you could imagine 1,000 bees. I mean, they could survive on the underside of a boat, or they could come across very inconspicuously on a huge vessel, right? And they're on their dormant, and then they just fly off. And instead of having a stinger, it's deadly poison. You're an important person, and you get stung, and you just kind of swat it away. Oh, that bee stung me. You don't think twice about it. You don't call 911. Maybe the stinger has a delayed release, so you don't die right there, and you go home, and then you die in your sleep, right? And that's just one thing that, that article kind of sparked in my mind was it isn't safe unless we understand that these things are a possibility. And even once we do, we're still going to have the misinformation. And it's not like we're going to be able to say, oh, look at the biopsy we're not going to have that kind of power.
Yeah. Well, it takes assassination to a new level.
It does.